Hey, IMYF family, how's it going? Jeff here. We're going to talk about boundaries today. It's not your fault, family. We talked about boundaries in the past, but I think this is one of those subjects that really needs repeating, correct? So before we get to that, what's the rule? Like, subscribe, leave a comment, make sure we all are getting this information out to the people that need it by subscribing. Only 18% of you that are watching this right now are subscribed. What's up with that? Come on, it's free, it's simple, it's easy, and it can actually save someone's life in the long run. That's not hyperbole, that's true. So please just hit the subscribe button because it's free and it's easy. Now, boundaries, when you set them, have to be three things. They have to be enforceable, realistic, and comfortable. So when we talk about comfort, what we talk about is being willing to go ahead and enforce them. And as far as the other two, as far as them being realistic, you don't want to have somebody with some I want you to get sober, get a job, and move out of my house tomorrow. That's a bit of a leap. Okay, let's just be realistic and enforceable. So these are things that you want to put in place that to where you know that if they cross the line, if your loved one crosses the line, you're going to follow through with them. So let's take the first one, realistic. You're going to put in place boundaries that are realistic. And I would say probably start off with something obvious. You can't bring drugs or alcohol into my home. If your loved one doesn't live with you anymore, maybe something like, I would like you never to call me while you're under the influence. Just leave it at that. How would you enforce that? You would enforce that by not taking their phone calls anymore and saying, I want to only see you in person if this is the way you're going to treat me. Things of that nature. Other things that are realistic. Again, you can't come home. You can't come to my home under the influence of alcohol or drugs. You can't drive under the influence. You can't drive my car, especially if they're a child. And the enforcement of that is they lose the right to drive. So these are small things, but they're realistic. Okay, and they have to be comfortable for you. Comfortable meaning you have to be able to have peace if things go awry. Okay, so if you tell your loved one that they can't bring drugs or alcohol into your home, and the consequence is that they have to move out, you have to be willing to have comfort in the fact that you gave them a boundary, they broke the boundary, and this is not your choosing; it's theirs. Okay, have peace in that. Easier said than done. The hardest time I ever had in my life was having to put one of my loved ones who was under the using alcohol and drugs out of the house. It tore me up, but it had to be done. You had to be serious about it. Enforceable. Okay, so you have realistic, comfortable, and enforceable. So if you're going to put a boundary down, it has to be something that's realistic, comfortable for you and for your loved one, and enforceable. Okay, so and don't be afraid to show consequences. You have to give somebody who's suffering from alcohol or drug addiction consequences because this keeps them in check. It keeps them from pulling you down. Because they have no respect for themselves does not mean they can't respect you. And if they don't respect you, then it's time to move on and put forth those enforceable, realistic, and comfortable boundaries. Now, let's talk a little further about boundaries to the point that boundaries are any good boundary, any fence, any wall will have, any border is only as strong as its integrity. So if you've got a beautiful long fence with a big high gate and barbed wire around it, but then you've got an open gate at the end of the fence, what's the good in that? Okay, that's called an out. That's giving somebody an out. If you give your loved one a realistic, comfortable, and enforceable boundary, but then your spouse or your significant other goes behind your back or doesn't enforce these boundaries, you are then tearing the whole thing up. It makes no sense. And your loved one will exploit that. Your loved one knows the weaker link to go to. Your loved one knows, because of the addiction, they know how to manipulate and to finesse the weaker of the two parties. So if you have a boundary, you both have to be on board with that. But again, a boundary or a fence is not just one side. It's two-sided. Why is it two-sided? Because you and your loved one have agreed upon this boundary, hopefully. And now you have to respect their side of the fence as well. So what does that mean, Jeff? Well, thank you for asking. What it means is that you can't push the boundary farther out, farther out, farther out to where you're reaching into their business all the time. The point of a boundary or a fence is to keep people from coming into your side of the fence, into your yard, but at the same time, you're to stay out of their other person's yard. Okay, so stay out of your loved one's business if you put up a boundary. The whole point of a boundary is this is the boundary, this is what I want, this is what I expect, and these are the consequences. Okay, great. Now, by the same token, if they agree to that, that means you can't, jump over the fence, run into their business and go, hey, I was just checking to make sure that this, and also I want you to do this, this, and this, and this is it. No, if that wasn't the initial boundary, you can't keep on pushing the fence farther and farther away. Okay, fences have posts in the ground with concrete for a reason. Okay, they're not supposed to move. If one day you feel like you want to move that fence a little farther out, fine, that's great. The reason why fences aren't made out of, they're not temporary is because you're not supposed to move them back and forth all the time. The only way that your loved one's going to get the memo that you're serious is if you hold your boundaries firm, okay, and don't be afraid to enforce them if they get broken. It's, like I said, easier said than done, but it has to be done. Okay, you have to force, and boundaries aren't just for their, to deal with their. Listen, people, it's to keep your sanity also. I mean, you've got to have regulations and guidelines, and you have to have everything kind of set out in front of you. Okay, because if you're constantly worrying back and forth about changing boundaries, moving boundaries, changing your mind, doing this, doing that, nothing's ever going to get accomplished. Find a small thing to go with, see if they can adhere to that. And if they do, maybe add something else. Okay. It's static. It can be, moved back and forth, but they have to come to the table with a sense of commitment, right? If you give someone a boundary and you break that boundary immediately, okay, so what are we doing? You have to enforce it, okay? If it was a realistic and comfortable boundary and they break it, you have to enforce what your ultimatum was. And if the consequences were X, Y, or Z, well, then follow through with that X, Y, or Z. If you only give X, Y, then they know that they can push that boundary a little closer to you, okay? Because they have control. Don't give addiction control. Addiction's smarter than you are, it's stronger than you are, and it's more conniving than you are, okay? Because addiction's evil. So don't give addiction even an inch, because it will take a mile, not just a yard. So hope that makes sense. Boundaries should be realistic, comfortable, and enforceable. And it's all up to you. Okay, it's up to you, because you have to be the one that sets the boundaries and enforces the boundaries. All right, they don't get to come to you and say, "Let's negotiate." Okay, it's not. This is not a treaty. Okay, they have to just agree. Okay, they have to agree to what you're putting down. All right, you have to protect your sanity, your spirit, your soul, and your heart. Protect your well-being. Okay, because this is we've gotten so far down this path of acquiescing, it's gotten us nowhere. You're stuck looking at this dumb idiot on the videotapes every week. So again, it has to start with you, because it works if you work it, people. Trust me, this program does work if you work it. Let it begin with you. By all means, say a prayer for the prayerless. God bless you guys. And by all means, why haven't you subscribed yet? Subscribe. Come on. Do it. 10 seconds, not even 5 seconds. It's free. It'll help the channel. It pushes it out to the matrix and all the different things and the stuff in the air and all this other stuff and whatever. All it does is YouTube stuff. So please do that. Okay, guys? God bless, and I'll talk to you soon.